getting dark adapted, that you actually see color. Like, good grief, who would ever think such a thing?
Yeah, well, that's the fun thing about the retina. Part of the brain, pretty clever.
I actually studied the eye in my electrical engineering education because it's basically a giant electrical circuit, and it'd be fascinating to talk to you about it because it's one of my favorite things, and I don't understand a lot about it, but it's very, very cool. And what an amazing, even more amazing thing is how bugs like bees have these great big globular eyes, and somehow that all still maps to an image in their brain. Like, how can that be?
That's right. It maps to an image very much the same way as our retinae map to the world to ours, basic principles. But what's missing, and I should make a revelation, and maybe a bit embarrassed about that, especially if John's around and some of the questions I've asked him. I took or audited. I took it, except I didn't have to take the final exam, an electrical engineering course my first year at graduate school to learn about equipment. The real problem with that for visual, and your course about involving visual systems, is there's no wet stuff in there. It's no chemistry.
That's why we take electrical engineering. There's no wet stuff in there.
It's the wet stuff screws up your junctions.
And here I thought it was everything else. Oh dear. Hey, Joe.
So,
how you doing,
Chris,
Michael?
I've got
It's kind of different.
Whoops. Oh, John's on.
We used to all have to turn around and look at the door to see who was coming in. You just-
Whoa!
What's
Feedback.
happening here?
Serious feedback.
Getting the feedback.
Sid, we can see you.
Yes.
Hey, nice to see you, Sid.
Oh, nice to see you, young girl.
Hi, Sid.
Hey, my venerable guru. I always turn to Sid for deep questions.
John, can we do a sound check from you again, please? Just say something.
From whom?
Yeah, John McDonald.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, hold on a second. I just want to check something.
It's a bit echoey.
Okay, try it again,
Yes.
John.
Oh, just hold it.
I've muted your other, I think you were on there twice, right?
No. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
Much,
That
much
sounds
better.
good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
you're
another
picking-
computer on. It was probably picking up the sound.
Yeah, because I think you may have two connections into it at the moment. We'll just give it another moment. Let people show up tonight. So people who have expressed an interest in saying something or got volunteered to say something are Joe, John, Dave. I don't know if you wanted to talk about those photographs or that you sent from Edmonton, or if that will be done as part of Reg's kind of summary. Not sure.
I think that'll be done by part of Reg's stuff.
Okay, that was a bit broken up there. I don't
I
know.
gave him all the background anyway.
Sure.
I
And then Sid.
gave Reg all the background information.
Perfect. Yeah, and then Sid and David, and of course Reg. Anybody else have anything today?
I've got a super simple question, basically, about observing meteors. That's, since I think this is the last night, supposedly, for the Perseids, maybe somebody could have some thoughts on it. Very short.
Okay, we could do that too.
Chris, Jim Hesser might join, and he might have some words as well. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen him here yet, but we'll keep an eye open for that. Maybe we should get started. welcome everyone to another version or another episode of Astro Cafe via Zoom. I'd like to start this evening. Joe's going to say a few words as the kind of webmaster and the, I guess, the overall keeper of our Zoom instance. There are some changes coming up to the security. You've probably heard, although it seems to have died away more recently, that Zoom did come under fall for some criticism earlier on. And so they're working on resolving that, and that does have some implications for us going forward. So maybe Joe, you could say a few words.
Okay, I'll just do a quick share here. Oh dear, they've changed the interface for me.
Of course they did.
Test.
Let's try that and see what happens. Okay. Because I have a new computer, it's going to ask me to crash out of the meeting and go back into the meeting, so I'm not going to bother. I'll just talk.
That'll work.
What? Yeah, that works pretty well usually. What is going to happen, we're going to probably try this with the next meeting, is we'll be using a password to protect the meeting. The email notification that you receive will have the password embedded in the link, just like you have now a regular link. You'll have just a longer link. Basically, that's what'll happen. You click on it and it will come into the meeting and give your password and start just like it normally does. If you are using an app or you're manually logging into the meeting by punching in the meeting number, then you will also need to punch in the password. And that's also given in the email notification every week that you receive. So just a matter of paying attention to that. It's just going to be a minor change. That will make the meeting more secure. And that's really all Zoom is after and all we're after. I don't think we really object too much if someone crashes into our meeting. The problem is that some people have come up against is that people will crash into a meeting with malicious intent and disrupt the meeting. That's about all it'll happen. In that case, it gets a little awkward because at that point, basically, you have to shut the meeting down in order to get rid of them. So we're going to have the password thing. If you have used Zoom with other agencies or other groups, you may notice there's also a waiting room feature, and that can replace the password feature. I'm not going to get into that because we're not going to use that. We're just going to use the password feature because it's the easiest. You just click on the link like you normally do, and you come into the meeting at the appropriate time. I think I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thanks,
If there's
Joe.
any questions, of course, just let me know or email me, web@victoria.rasc.ca. Thanks.
Thank you. So yeah, because just to reiterate kind of what that is if anybody happened to discover our string of numbers, they could join the meeting, but now the passcode means you'd have to know two things to break in. So make it a little more secure. Yeah. John, did you are you ready to show us what you discovered on Jupiter?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll have to share the screen. So
Please go ahead.
I'll do that now.
Can you hear John?
Okay, I don't know. Can you see image of Jupiter with the moon beside it?
No.
You're not, see,
We
you're not
just have your
seeing it.
thumbnails at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Small
hold
slide.
on then. I'll have to stop and do this again. This is sometimes a problem.
Yeah, if the choice is there to share the screen, try that if you can.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay, have
yeah.
you got it now?
Yes,
You can see Jupiter?
we can, and moons
Yeah,
and
the shadow.
shadows
moon.
and red spot.
Okay, so I want you to take a good look at this. This is, this moon is, let me remember now, Ganymede. And this one, which you probably can't see, but there's, right there, there's a little whiter spot, that's Io. And this is Ganymede's shadow. This is Io's shadow. Now, just watch. I actually, whoops, see if I can do this. Sorry, having trouble here.
Oh, we can see it now.
Okay, I'm just going to scroll through. I actually got 22 sets of red, green, and blue for each set, sort of taking them in succession. It takes a few minutes to take each one. And then I process them. So I've only got as far as processing a few of them so far. But if you watch this, you'll see what happens. You can see Io moving away. You can see the red spot moving across. And that's all I got processed so far, just 8 of them. But I have 22 in total. And interestingly, by the time it finishes, Io comes out from behind the planet. So I'll be able to show that to you next week. It took me all day to process just 2 of these today because, and I'll have to stop the share, I think, and because I want to show you something else here. Okay, I think this will work now. Sorry, this is a slow process. Okay, I think you should be able to see a video now. This is actually what one of the black and white images looked like in the video, and you can actually see 2 moon shadows, but it's pretty hard to make out much else. The red spot is here. It's upside down because the camera, for a variety of reasons related to getting the cords for the right place, is upside down on the telescope. Can you see that video okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have to stop that, and then I want to show you the next thing. You've lost it now, I believe, right?
No, John, we're still seeing
You're
bridge.
still seeing it? Okay.
Yep.
Maybe you'll be able to see this. Can you see a black and white one of Jupiter now?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a processed and sharpened image of a red channel upside down. This is what it looks like before you sharpen it. So this one is what it looks like after stacking. And this was what it looks like after sharpening. And now the next thing that I want to show you is, hopefully this will still work. Okay, can you see this?
Perfect.
Another black and white image of
Yes.
Jupiter. It's the same one as before. This is the red, this is the green, and this is the blue. And what I want you to see, if I scroll back through them, look at how much it turns. That's in about 3 minutes.
Wow.
So there's no way I could process this and get those moons looking sharp without using a program called WinJupos that actually derotates the planet motion. Jupiter goes around once every 10 hours, so it's actually really moving. See that? the rate at which it does it.
Mm.
There was a little bit more delay between the first one and the second one here than the second one and the third. But anyway, so that's just what I wanted to show you. So thanks very much. I'll stop the share.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's interesting, John.
Good.
Did anybody else have a chance to have a look at that?
You did, Chris.
Yeah, I did. It was a good opportunity to get the my 8-inch Newtonian out, which hasn't been used very much for a while. So it was, I would say, it was sort of that fuzzy view was what I could see. I was having trouble picking up the smaller shadow. It was very much right in the band, but I could see them all when, you know, when the sky was nice and stable for those brief instances that it was. So well done, John, on getting such nice photographs, because it was a bit lowish, but not too bad.
It is low.
It was good to see anyway. So, and I was pleased I could remember how to set up a telescope too. Anyways.
Thanks, John. That's great, John.
You're welcome.
Sid, you had some Perseid images. Are you
Yes, I
available?
do. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So I'm trying to, this is the first time for me to do. Okay. I don't want that. Share. I think I lost you guys.
No, you're doing good.
We can see your we can see the Zoom window on
Zoom
your
window.
desktop.
How
So
could I
if,
get
you,
on my desktop?
so if you'd minimize that,
Minimize that.
hopefully you've got a photograph there. There's the invite to the.
Okay, minimize that.
And now we see your email, the Astro Cafe email.
Minimize that.
There's your inbox. Okay, there we are.
There you go.
Okay, where we go. Okay, we, as probably everyone knows, that comet Neowise has taken a central stage for about a month and a half. It generated a lot of activities. And then last week, Perseid tried to dethrone the comet. Perseus came and gone, but comet is still around. And most of you, or some of you, know that I have allsky camera, which is to catch these Perseid type of events. So I have about 150, but we won't go through those one by one. But I have few chosen for. Let's see whether we could get it. Could you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Okay, so the date is on the top left-hand corner. It's the Julian date. So it's, say, August 11th, so it's on 10th in a way. And the 6 means it's, say, 11 o'clock in the evening for us. So this is the first one which we are going to be viewing. That's another one came in.
Nice.
Next. This is a good one. Big
Is that the
flash.
moon coming up too, Sid?
Yeah, the moon is coming up. Another one, which is on 12th, August 12th. Yeah. This is another good one. Now, I don't want to bore you with all these individuals, so I made a composite. That's another one.
You're just making us jealous.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
right. Okay.
Very impressive.
That's neat.
Yeah. So you could, the program which this system is using, you could make a composite for different time frame. So this is for 6 hours from, let's say from 10 o'clock to about 2, 3, 4 hours. Yeah. So that's for one evening. That's on 12th. That's 11th for us here.
It's really neat the way it shows how they originate from a point on the upper
yeah, that's right.
slightly left of center.
And you could see the different of these are the different intensity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next one. Look at this here at the bottom of this.
Lots of intense meteors there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now I have to admit that I haven't seen any one of these this year because I was concentrating on the comet. These meteors, maybe if I'm alive next year, I will be able to see them again. But the comet, I won't be able to see it when it comes back 6,000 years from now. I don't wish to be alive for that. So I was concentrating on the comet per se. Yeah. So I think this is the end of my presentation. I have this camera for about 12 years or so. The main intent is to see if there's any meteoroid landed on the surface so we could go and find it. Have not found any yet. Yeah. So
Sid, did the dotted streaks across the image, are those
plane.
aircraft?
Aircraft,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
These are aircraft coming back, yeah.
Sid,
Any
when you make
questions
your
about it?
Sid, when you make your composite, is that over a period? You said, was it 6 hours?
6 hours, yeah.
So the radiant would have rotated across the sky.
That's
during
correct,
that period.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah, quite interesting, yeah.
And it does a good job of taking the star trails out.
Yes. Well, this camera is not sensitive enough to see the individual stars, only the bright objects like the moon and the planets, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
The main objective of this camera is to see flashes, meteors, flashes. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. Now, how should I come back here?
You should be able to stop sharing.
Oh, here we go. I got it. Come on. Let's go.
Which?
I stop that.
It's at the top of the screen.
Oh,
There should be a red thing that says stop, I think.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Stop. Yeah.
Could be.
There
Got
we
it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sid. That's really neat how those those shots really go together quite well too.
Interesting.
David, I think you had some things to show us as well.
Yes, I did. Just show you share a few of my adventures from last week. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last week I did a number of things. I tried watching the meteor shower without much luck capturing anything. Even though I did actually see quite a number of them, most of them weren't really extremely bright, at least when I went out. But I'll talk about that when I get to that section. So this spans the 14th to the 16th. So on the 12th, I went out to Kettle Point, and I set up a camera. In fact, I set up my fisheye and pointed it straight up in the middle of the sky at the zenith, hoping that I would catch something. But I'm not sure if that was the best strategy, because a lot of the meteors that I saw were much lower down, and I'm not sure how well that sort of gets captured on the frame. I was kind of pushing the exposure a little bit too. Maybe that wasn't a great idea either. But anyways, while I was waiting, I did something that I don't normally do. I don't normally observe with binoculars, but I was there anyways, and it's kind of boring, kind of waiting for the next meteor. So I scanned that whole area around the radiant, and I was pleasantly surprised after so many years of not using binoculars how nice it actually is to go to somewhere moderately dark and actually just scan the sky with binoculars. So I actually have a set of binoculars which is 6 degrees in diameter in the viewing point. So it was really beautiful to see the Alpha Persei cluster where Murphak is, and then move up to where the double cluster is. And I always love the double cluster in a really wide view because it has this really interesting leaf structure just above it, which is kind of neat. And then, in fact, that's how I found it originally. It's one of the first objects I ever found in astronomy with binoculars. And I found the leaf structure and then found the double cluster afterwards. Right beside it, actually, is an interesting figure called Stock 2. It's also called the Muscle Man, and it looks like a muscle man with kind of like with their arms up. And it's actually a pretty good likeness, actually. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but it's quite an interesting structure. The other thing I saw while I was there was watching Mars emerge from the horizon. It's about, it's a little to the right of this image. And at first, I had mistaken it for the red light that is part of the, I guess, the air warning system or water warning system. And then I realized, no, that's Mars. And as it was coming up, because it was coming up through so much atmosphere, it actually got a little bit of help from that red filter at the edge of the atmosphere when things rise. And it was even redder than normal. So it was a very bizarre kind of bike reflector red color. So that was kind of neat. So that was my observing session. I didn't really come back with any meteors except visually, but I really enjoyed the site with binos. So the next day, there was a bit of conversation with Nathan the night I was at Cattle Point, and he said he could still see it. And I thought, well, maybe it's time to go back and see if I could hunt it down. So I went up to Mount Ptolemy the next night, and I went and imaged the area. Unfortunately, it's a very, in the west, it's actually very, very bright after sunset. So it was quite a messy, kind of whitish scene when I imaged it. So I wasn't having much luck. I actually tried to view it through binoculars as well, and didn't really have much luck either. But later on, I thought, well, it was like a total washout. Though I thought, well, maybe I could bring the computer into play here. And I actually brought up Sequence Generator Pro, which I really haven't used much yet, but it has an interesting algorithm built into it. It actually doesn't do the plate solving itself, but it actually calls on another site, an online site. So I know that Gary asked me a little bit about this. I know he uses plate solving down in Arizona, but I wanted to just let people know about this because I don't know if everybody has used plate solving. Maybe many of you already have. It's actually in Sequence Generator Pro and also in SharpCap. So you may have encountered it before. But basically what you can do is feed it an image and it'll actually return the coordinates of the central part of the image. So this is actually quite useful for a number of reasons. It's useful when you're actually doing an imaging run, which maybe spans over a number of days or maybe even years, to get back to the exact spot that you were. And even in the course of an evening, if you've got a meridian flip or somehow, like in my case where I'm using a star tracker, it's really hard for me to get back when I have to get back, especially in the case of an AstroTrack. It doesn't put you back in the same spot, so you have to go reacquire the image. So plate solving really kind of helps in that regard. And in this case, after the fact, I could go hunt for neowise in that muck. And then I realized what it was. And once I enhanced it a little bit, it was green. So I knew I had found it. So it was quite useful for that. So if anybody wants to try it, there's an online service called astrometry.net. If you go there and then feed it an image, it'll send back the coordinates. And it's actually pretty good. Like my image is pretty mushy, and it still was able to find all the stars and then give me a centroid for the image.
David?
Yes.
David, I'm wondering what the magnitude of the comet was on, I think that was the 14th.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely dim because I couldn't see it with binoculars.
Well, I was looking it up the last time. I used averted imagination to see the comet through binoculars. I had the exact star field, so I'm sure I was looking at it. But then I looked up the magnitude, and it was below what I should have been able to see with my binoculars, which have they're what are they, 8 by 40s. They're really bright, and I think the magnitude limit is something like 9 point something. It's up there more than the standard. It used to be 8 magnitude, I think, would say but it depends on your binoculars. So I'm thinking that these, regardless of what binoculars you have, even Diane, even with yours, and the dark sight, there'll be some limit where you'll be able to pick up the comet photographically, but not see it with binoculars. I was just wondering if you happen to know.
I can look it up, but I sort of remember that night I thought, well, why can't I see this? And I popped into Sky Safari on my phone, and I think it was like 8.8 or something like that.
Oh, because I was looking at that site, I forget, the one that gives you the exact coordinates. Someone sent it around.
Yeah, maybe the Skyhound site.
So,
Maybe listed 8 point something, but it really is quite dim.
Well, it's diffuse as well, right?
My binoculars are about, I would guess in a dark sky, maybe 11 magnitude limitation. And
I think that's probably about right.
Yeah. Or 10
because I looked up on a chart because I was curious about mine, and of course a long list of different binoculars, and it depends what you have, but I know mine or my Celestron 10 by 50s, I think, would not be seeing it now.
Yeah. I think I would have to have really good seeing and transparency conditions and a really good sky like Arizona. And
the sky was definitely too bright.
But you still, that's always a factor,
Yeah, exactly. But I observed 10 magnitude NGCs with the binos.
Yeah, I would think, you could have.
Yeah, 25 by 100s.
I'll have to do a weight workout, and so I can hold binoculars your size.
I know. Well, it's fabric lab.
Actually, just as a side note, before I go on to the next slide, when I was at Cattle Point, I was really surprised by the amount of glow at Cattle Point. It's really only good in a certain direction there. There's some areas that are not that good at Cattle Point.
Now, would that be southeast, David? I haven't been out there.
Well, when I was looking at the radiant, you're looking northwest to northeast. It's actually very dark in that direction.
Oh, okay.
If you were to turn 180 degrees and look the other way, the area around the teapot is quite flooded with light.
Yeah.
And where Arcturus, definitely flooded with light.
Yeah. So,
David, question for you.
Yes.
I was out the same night as you were, and I got a similar image to you of the comet. I noticed in mine, and I think I mentioned it online, that the nucleus seemed to be elongated. Is that an artifact of the comet moving, or is that, what do you think about that?
I'm not sure. In anything that I image, there's a bit of elongation. If you stack, there's definitely elongation because the comet moves with respect to the star field.
Yeah.
If you've got a single shot, it's still looking pretty circular to me. It doesn't look that wide.
Yeah, I did about 25 frames and used PixInsight to focus on the comet head itself, and it still looked elongated.
Oh,
But
it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
How long were the exposures, Gary?
They were 30 seconds each.
Oh, okay. So it shouldn't have moved much.
No, in 30 seconds, as I say, in a single shot, that's typical of one of my single shots. They could be anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds.
Yeah, I took your advice.
And the head doesn't seem to move that much.
Okay, I was wondering about it. And also, you've noticed here on the screen, plate solve 2 is good for use in the field. That is an excellent idea. I'm trying to get that going.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. The other thing I'm thinking of doing, I haven't put my money down on it yet, but I'm thinking of getting an ASI Air. And it's one of these Raspberry Pi computers that you can bind up with your mount. And it's basically eliminates your laptop. And it carries all that software. It carries PhD2. It will do the plate solve. It does almost everything, really. You don't need your laptop anymore.
How about that?
Okay, so on the 16th, this is a continuing story of my early mornings. I figured, well, there's a lot of these kind of events that I normally wouldn't partake in because it's just too early. And I thought, well, why wait? When am I going to do this? So I figured, well, I may as well do it. So here I am, 3:30 in the morning on August 16th, and I wander out trying to catch the crescent moon, Venus, and Orion. Now, I started off at Riffet's Bog, and I thought that's kind of like my classic position for moon rises, and it didn't really look that good, so I didn't get out of the car. So I drove down to Cattle Point, and then I got a little bit freaked out being about the only person there. So I headed down further, down into Oak Bay, and I ended up just past the marina because the positioning was good. So this is where I caught this image, actually.
That's really nice, David.
Oh, thank you.
David, did you tweak with the colors to get the nice blue sky?
A little bit. In the actual scene, it's quite gray and murky, more or less. I kind of tweaked it to give a nicer blue. The other thing I think I would have done, and I don't know if I can get away with it, is I wouldn't mind doing a little median on this to get rid of some of the stars, because it's not really that obvious where Orion's belt is. So I think I kind of overexposed it a bit. And you can tell that from Venus as well. But
David, have you ever tried using a diffusion filter?
I thought of that as well. You can kind of do that after the fact too. It's not quite the same, but you're right. I do actually have diffusion filters. I just didn't bring one with me.
One thing.
But you're right. That would help. That would
one
enlarge
thing that works
the
quite
brightness.
nicely, I think, is take some images just as you did, and then take one or two with a diffusion filter, and just blend a little bit of it in.
Yeah.
The neat thing about that is that it makes the brighter stars look big, has no sort of visible effect on the little ones.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense, actually. Yeah, I've got a couple. There were some that were recommended, quite a number of years ago when people were doing that. I know that Akira Fuji is really famous for doing that to his star fields. And I can't remember which Hoya filter it is, but it does kind of a nice job of doing that. So that's certainly something that I would try next time if I was thinking about it. So I ended up back at the bog. So I actually caught a number of pictures. This one I didn't include on Zenfolio, but it's kind of fun. I didn't really get to see the crescent in that wide field image, so I wanted to make sure I captured it. I have a bit of a fascination for thin crescents now. So I caught this as daylight was breaking, basically. So Venus and the crescent were actually quite visible still. So I took this final image. And in fact, because we're heading to a new moon, I think on Thursday, there's an opportunity to see another thin crescent. So if anybody wants to sort of photograph that or look at it, I'd try on Thursday, actually. The other times are not quite as safe to do, and I'm not sure if you'd really get anything anyways. I checked the day before, and it's very close to the sun. If you wait till Thursday and the sun's setting, you'd be plenty safe. You'd be fine to do it. But yeah, I'm really kind of fascinated with crescents right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I've got. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, David, would that be a 2-day-old crescent on Thursday that we're after?
Actually, it's a 1 day. I think it's a 1 day.
Okay.
You'll have to have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I think I like those better because the really, really thin ones are kind of hard to look at. They don't have much to them. But this one's like 2 days, no, three days before. And there's one on the other side, obviously, that we're going to be looking at. But I kind of like this thinness. This is kind of where I like it.
Very cool.
David, the filter that I use for that diffusion stuff is a Koken P830.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that one as well. The one I've got is glass, but there's no reason why you can't use the polyester Koken. That'd be good, a good choice.
Yeah, thanks, David. Did anybody have a chance to have a look at seeing the moon like that? The moon and Venus were quite close together during the day on Saturday. Did anybody go out and have a look at that? Yes, no? That was in the Sky News list there. So that was quite interesting. And when I threw a bit of a telescope on it, you could see that the Venus was a crescent as well. So that was quite neat.
Oh, nice.
We weren't too far apart. Dorothy, you had a question you were hoping to ask.
Well, I was just back to observing meteors. We were reading in the August Astronomy magazine, just standard facts for observing and how to take your lawn chair out and have a blanket if it gets cold and look up at the sky. But the facts that we know, they're at a particular height, on average 90 kilometers up. And the maximum distance that one can see a meteor, according to this short table of facts, excuse me, is 200 kilometers. Now, I was thinking about that and reflecting on when we've been high in the mountains, looking over to distant mountain ranges and how far can one actually see. And if one imagines oneself, say, in the middle of the ocean, horizon is where the curvature of the Earth cuts off our view out into the sky. And that's 530 some kilometers or something like that. So that means that one, doing just a little bit of math, geometry, one should be, if you're in the middle of an ocean with nothing obstructing your horizon other than the surface of the Earth, that the lowest meteor that we should be able to see would be something like 34 degrees up. And I'm just wondering that there's no explanation, if anyone has any idea about why the limit to the distance, if it has to do with the maximum brightness of meteors, there's some other factor. Well, of course, that's high enough that atmospheric filtering doesn't come in too much. Why there should be the limit of the angle at which one can see a meteor. If you're sitting in the middle of the Pacific, should have Charles or Michelle here maybe fill us in, but why one could not see a meteor closer to the horizon than approximately 30 some. Or in other words, what is the limit to the of this 200 kilometers is the most distant meteor according to this table on the Astronomy magazine, that we can see a meteor, because they are all, of course, traveling around at an average 90 kilometers up from the Earth's surface. So they're Miles thinks that 200 kilometers is wrong, but I don't.
Well, I read something today, it's something that you could see for 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah, is it a meteor?
Someone asked a question, I don't know where I saw this, but someone 1,000 kilometers away, could they see the same meteor? And whoever was answering said, yes, they could. I don't know if that's right or not.
That, I mean, if you're thinking you're sitting on a globe and you have the outer shell 90 kilometers up around the Earth, you're one point, and you have something going overhead 90 kilometers up, going off towards the horizon, what keeps one from seeing it until it disappears over the horizon, which is the surface of the Earth? Dave,
it should be simple geometry, I would suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's pretty simple. At the surface, if you're looking for something on the surface, the maximum distance you can see something is about 30 miles.
Well, there's a, yeah.
Because if you look at where they used to put the old microwave, if you look at where they used to put the old microwave towers across the prairie, they used to be 150 feet. So if you're looking to see something that's in the atmosphere that's at an altitude of 80 or 90 miles, you're going to be limited by the angle that the Earth is going to cut you off. And
yeah, there's a formula for, sorry.
Someone 1,000 miles away can see the same at 90 mile height.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's got to be several hundred kilometers. For example, one time I watched the International Space Station go overhead, and I tracked it on my space station tracker on my phone, and I could still see it when I was sitting on Quadra Island up by Campbell River over Calgary. Now,
how many kilometers up is the space station? I've forgotten.
It's quite a bit higher than 90, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's the brightness of the object. I mean, what I'm I guess when wondering was whether this number that was given in the Astronomy magazine was something kind of empirical, or whether there was some combination of maximum meteor brightness. These are not fireballs. This is for a meteor shower, which.
Okay, Dave Robinson, I challenge you to let's both get on this and give an answer next week.
Well, I've got something to say about the Perseid meteors, which this article in Astronomy magazine that we were reading, it just had some facts in general about meteors. And what was really surprising to me is it claims that no shower meteor has ever been recovered as a meteorite, because they're just tiny particles, and all the meteorites we get are, the big chunks that are sporadics, I guess, and so on. So I can't say yes or no that that's right, but it sounds reasonable, because the stuff that comes off the comets are just so fine, dusty grains, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's a magnitude limit might come into that, shorter than what you might expect distance.
In the fall, we're going to have one of our guest speakers did his PhD in modeling meteoroid streams. So he'll be able to answer all our questions.
There you
Good.
go. So save those questions up.
So can I go back to David for just a minute?
Sure.
David posted by email yesterday, I think it was, that picture of the moon in a tree. And if I can share here, I'll show those who maybe have not seen. see, desktop. You'll see that on the right hand side, that's one that I took up in Tofino, and the reason those who may have seen it, the reason I brought up is what's on the left hand side. When you're trying to compose something in the sky with something on the horizon, it's a little tricky. But we were watching the sunset in the same place at the same time, and I managed to be able to walk along the beach to get this series of pictures, which is the sun going down in this little crotch in between the islands just off the coast.
Very cool.
And I had to move a little bit to keep getting them. But so with a little ingenuity, you can get some really interesting backdrops. So that's it. That was just a sort of a kudos to David for being able to fill backdrops in like that.
Too bad you didn't get a green flash off that one.
No, we were hoping. Didn't happen. We were hoping.
There's actually a program called Photo Pills, and they have all these kind of opportunities for the alignment of things like the sun and the moon. And I can't remember the name of it, but there's a time in the year where if you're in Manhattan, in New York, if you're in Manhattan, there's a set of buildings where the sun sets and they come exactly in between the buildings. And I can't remember what they call that, but Photo Pills will tell you the exact date so you can fly to New York and, well, maybe not fly to New York now.
Not anymore.
It's called
Manhattan
Henge. It's called Manhattan Henge.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Alistair's done one of those in Edmonton, downtown, with the moon, or the sun coming up right down one of the avenues, east-west avenues. It's quite spectacular.
Yeah.
Speaking of things close to the horizon, I read in Astronomy magazine one time that when you can see the full moon just coming above the horizon, the whole moon, it's actually over the horizon still, but because of atmospheric refraction, you can see it early.
Yeah.
True? Yes, true?
So, yes, that's right, yeah.
So what does it, that means, therefore, that a star or anything does, and since we see it early, when it's directly overhead, it's in the right position, right?
Correct.
So that means, therefore, that as it's going from the horizon to directly overhead, it goes from being too far up to being in the correct position. So it doesn't actually go at the right speed as it goes from the horizon to above us.
Yeah, that refraction would probably only occur in the first few degrees above the horizon, though.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But so it must be highly nonlinear near the horizon, then settle down a little bit up higher.
And it also depends on the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yes.
How the density of the atmosphere.
Yeah, how moist it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's actually some tracking rates that are related to that. I think it's called King, and it takes into account refraction lower in the horizon or close to the horizon.
I guess that's why we don't image below 30 degrees then.
We were actually down at Cattle Point about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there was that big fog bank that was a fairly shallow fog bank that runs along the horizon off of the peninsula to the east, and we could see the ocean past the fog bank, just above the fog bank. That's how much refraction there has. You can actually see over the fog bank and see the Puget Sound on the far side of it. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah.
That happens not that reasonably often.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I've never seen that. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
This group gets more and more nonlinear all the time.
Pandemic effect.
It's fun.
Great. Well, thank you. That was a very interesting discussion. Reg, do you have anything to say?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. You carry on.
I'm going to try and share a screen. And what I want to go to I'm going to get rid of the thumbnails, and I'll go here. And so what I'm going to do is just go through some of the stuff, first of all, on that I posted this afternoon on Astro Cafe. The first thing is, I don't know if anyone knows, but there is a thing called the Robotic Telescope Editing Contest. And I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but if you click on this link, you go to the Sky News page, and they've got all sorts of information on it. But so every month they're going to release data that was taken with the RASC Robotic Telescope, and they're challenging us to process it. And the person who does the nicest job of processing it will win, get this lovely bag, but more than that, a 1-year access to all the RASC Robotic Telescope data, which is a pretty decent thing once the robot system gets up and running. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. So, and so the link is on our page here. Then we got some deep sky images from Abdur Anwar. He wasn't cocooning in his bubble, but he got the cocoon and the bubble nebula, beautiful shots. And he was using a very fast 3.9 8-inch reflector. And he has all the data here. And I just, I'll show those pictures. Do you have any comments to add to that, Dave?
No, I've not met Anwar. I just see his images, but he's been steadily improving his images as he goes.
He's got nice round stars.
Yeah, this looks like almost an astrograph, the way that with that short an F ratio. The other thing to remember is this is pretty challenging in Edmonton at this time of year because you don't get that much muddy dark sky.
We took this
so
on.
I get 2 hours on this thing.
Yeah,
he's been working.
He said the sky's finally cleared, and this was on August 9th, and he did them both. And here is the bubble.
Oh, good one.
Well, that's just beautiful as well. So now, a lot of people have probably been on the RASC, Victoria RASC site, and Dan Posey got a great shot of this cloud complex. Bill Weir kindly invited him out to encourage him to go to the Pearson site, and I didn't show this here because I tried to put the image on the web page, and it was 19 megabytes, and I thought that Joe Carr would shoot me if I did that. So I've got a picture here. I've loaded it here, and if you haven't seen it, look at all the dust that seems to be showing up there. I don't know. Wow. The universe is a dirty place as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I was most impressed with the dust lanes. I thought he just did an amazing job of those.
Fabulous, fabulous. That's all you can say.
Pretty exciting. So I really encourage you. This is just a facsimile of it. You can download the full 19 megabyte version and zoom in and look around. It's really quite amazing. So,
what did he use to take that with?
I've got it here. He used his SkyGuider Pro, Ioptron SkyGuider Pro, and 105 millimeter Sigma at f1.4, and he was using his new Canon RA at ISO 640. He put in quite a description about Dan is a bit of a perfectionist, as you know, and he always says, I think I can do a little bit better. So we'll probably see further iterations of this in the future.
He was complaining about the halos around some of the stars because of the RA camera's propensity to have reflections inside the camera body, but personally, I can't really see them. But
yeah, you're right.
Pretty darn good to me.
That's amazing. Thanks for saying that, Joe. So many people see stuff that I can never see, and I'm concerned. I'm losing confidence in myself. So.
Is that down by Antares?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Very low.
Okay.
Then Mike Nash, he got a series of 9 nights in a row, and I shouldn't have done that. I'll back off here. I've got the link there, but if you go to this stuff and download it, it brings down a big zip file, and it's worthwhile doing because you can load them all in. And I looked at them, and it's really fun night after night to see how features change as the Terminator comes around. And I really thoroughly enjoyed examining these photos. So the link's there. So please go and have a look. And this came off of, I found this image from the Astro, is it the Canadian Astro Photo Sharing website? As Joe, you're involved in that.
Yes, I run the national astrophoto imaging list for RASC. Yeah.
And
that's where it came from.
Yeah, it's just a great site and things like that. The other thing is that there's 2 more sessions for the UVic open house Zoom sessions, and this Wednesday, starring Dr. Doug Johnstone, and I don't know if you'll remember a couple of AGMs back, he gave a presentation for us, and the guy is a born entertainer, so this is going to be a very entertaining talk, so you might want to give that some consideration. The other thing that happened is that I've been doing work with my comets, trying to stack them right and take out the motion of the comet, and I got this, I got a website thing from, I guess David Lee kindly mentioned a website. I looked at that, and then I found out that he had an updated version on this thing. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Most of you probably are. I realize I'm a newbie here, but it's called the Astro Image channel. And they have all sorts of stuff on here. There's all these different things. So Robert Traub's thing on the comet is here. But looking down further, I found this thing by Debra Ceravolo, and she is now living right on the US border, very close to Jack Newton, and they have a thing called the Anarchist Mountain Observatory there. And her husband, Peter Ceravolo, was very active in building high-end telescopes, and they brought their first model out in 2008, which is when the telescope market crashed along with everything else. But he had a high-end digital imaging business as well, so they focused on that. But Debra actually, her background is in imagery and publishing and this sort of stuff, and she had some thoughts on the Hubble pellet and how they could do something better. And so she was 10 years ago, she was giving some talks, and to imaging groups and that about her technique. Sky and Telescope invited her to give an article, which she did in 2011, and then she left this business for a while, and then I'm just going to try and start this up.
2011, I gave a talk
to
the Society for Astronomical Sciences in California, and the editor of Sky and Telescope was there, and he asked me to write an article for the magazine. And so I did. And it was published in December 2011. And that was then, and at this point, we stopped the astro imaging altogether. The astrograph was not selling very well, and we had to stop making the product and get back to making money. Our industrial optics business really picked up around then and pretty much consumed us for the next 10 years. And I had concentrated all my time on running the business. I had only gotten back to image processing recently, partly because I missed it, and also because Peter's been working on a new and exciting telescope design that I needed to get caught up with what's happening now. So, fast forward 10 years, last September, I took a 2-day workshop for PixInsight with Ron Breacher and Warren Keller. There's Ron there, there's Warren. And that got me going on PixInsight. And it was pretty challenging, difficult software to get going on. But they really helped a lot. And I really love this software. I think it's brilliant, actually. And I like that I can calibrate and stack and align and crop and process all in one software. I do use Photoshop a little bit at the end of the processing for some things, though. And this workshop was at the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory in Victoria, BC. And this is a plastic 100-year-old telescope is in this dome here. Has quite a history, too. And I really love the city of Victoria. It's a 5-hour drive for me, plus a ferry. But my daughter and her husband lived there, so it was a pretty good trip for me. And since then, I've been taking a lot of time learning PixInsight. I used many.
I'll just stop it there. I don't know if you saw the big screen or not, but I just wanted to indicate that, Joe, you organized that whole thing. And that shows you, she used the knowledge that she gained from that, plus some of the tutorials that she did to redevelop the technique that she developed 10 years ago. And this whole video, I encourage you to go and watch the whole thing. It's in 3 parts, and it gives about the history of their old scope, their Anarchist Mountain thing, and she has a PowerPoint, a PixInsight demo in there as well. Just have a look at it. This is a black hole. I give you this. So at that, I'll stop.
Thanks for sharing the black hole. I'll definitely have a look at that video.
I was quite excited when I saw them show that. And I said, hey, I know those guys.
Yeah.
Then I realized that I was the gatekeeper that morning. I let her in, and she had a hot Corvette or something.
She does, yeah. She was being hassled by the local hot rod guys. She wasn't impressed. But that's a side story.
So back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Reg. So does anybody else have anything for this evening?
I could say something.
Please.
I just wanted to say that I haven't really participated in one of these virtual astronomy cafes before. And I find it very interesting and very nice to hear and see everybody again, even though it's somewhere else. It's virtual. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Malcolm.
Nice to see you, Malcolm.
Yeah, good to see you.
Malcolm.
I just wanted to say that was a spectacular light show last night, overlooking overlooking the bay here. So I know it's off topic, but Reg, you'd appreciate it. So.
Well, I knew that we might be in trouble because I was looking at the type of cloud, and I mentioned to my wife, I said that's Altostratus castellanus, and then about 5 minutes later, it started to pour, and I had to bring my telescope in that I had carefully lined up. So.
Oh. It was beautiful. We were able to watch it from well over, like to the south of the Malahat, and then just work itself all the way over Mill Bay and over into Cowichan, and then back around, so that it was at the end it was more in towards Salt Spring Island. So the whole.
What was the time,
all the way around.
What was the time when?
9.
Yeah, right around 9.
9-ish.
It went on for a
9
long time.
o'clock.
So quite early in the evening then.
Yeah, 9 to 10.
Yeah.
But where else but in Victoria? I was out on the porch a little before 10. There are scattered clouds, stars in between, thunder roaring, and lightning flashes through the trees. I mean, we have only trees. We couldn't see the horizon where all this was happening, but we knew it was going on. All 4 things all at once within about 2 minutes. Where else?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Lori got the lion's share of the show. A friend of mine up in Nanaimo said they just got whacked with thunder and lightning.
Oh yes.
Lots
Yeah.
of people said it was just it was like a rock concert. It was that intensity almost. It was just amazing. She
Well,
said.
we couldn't hear a lot of the thunder at all. It was all just lightning here. This
They're about 30 miles away, Lori. There's an app you can get to show you where the lightning strikes.
Yeah, I would actually think it might have even been closer than that.
It was about the middle of the island. If you plotted the stream of thunderstorms, it was going kind of across Souk up towards Nanaimo. So it's about 20 or 30 miles from us.
Okay.
Yeah, it did seem to be moving north more than
yeah.
Yes.
The heavy spells went in that direction. So.
Gary, did you check out the Canadian Lightning Detection Network for that?
Oh, I have a couple apps that do that. I don't know where they get their data from.
Yeah, that whole system is actually run out of Tucson for the whole North America.
Makes sense.
A friend of mine manages the Canadian portion of that network. What they do is they analyze static, sort of like the spark plug glow from your emission from your car, and from the triangulation of the network, they can calculate a whole pile of different things, including the distance, the time, the amount of charge that's dropped, whether it's positive or electric charges, and this sort of stuff.
Well, that explains a few things, because the smaller ones don't show up, but the big ones do.
Yeah.
We used to use that. We used to use that data in Alberta with our determined how much to put on.
Dave, you're breaking up quite a lot, so we didn't really hear that.
No, we didn't get you.
We could look at that, and we could look where the lightning. My internet connection is a little slow. We used to use that data to decide where to put lightning protection on buildings in Alberta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, a bit of an issue in Alberta.
Yeah, the main driver for that is the starting for the forest industry to find out whether they're going to have forest fires.
Yeah, absolutely.
A neat show. Does anybody else have anything for this evening? Okay, well, thank you all for attending.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
we'll
you
be back
all.
again next week.
That was fun. Hope you get some sleep there with your new puppy.
Yeah. Well, and David seems to be out watching the night sky. So
He's doing it all for us. He's our virtual person, and
he's our representative.
I go to bed. So there you go.
Does anybody have any requests? This is not too early.
Watching Getting Up and watching Orion through my living room window, and I actually saw the sword through a break in the trees. So yeah.
Chris, could I just share the screen for a second here?
Sure, please do.
Okay. I'll go here, share, and then I don't know if you can see this. Oh no.
Oh, no.
I had this all set up. Here we are. This is for David. David, this is the shot that you took. I shot a similar one at 3:30 in the morning, but this was at the end of July, and that reflection there is the reflection of Venus as it rose.
We're not seeing anything.
We're not getting
your
it.
attack page?
Okay, I'm going to stop the share.
Right in your browser, in other words.
Okay, just a second here. My apologies. I'll try it again. Just see if I can bring it up.
So you actually have the prequel to this.
Well, yeah. Can you see
there we
it
are.
now?
Oh yeah.
Can you see the? I'm pointing at Venus here.
Yep.
And a reflection.
There's the red light too.
Yeah, so this is looking towards the northeast from my balcony. So what?
You can
nice.
see Taurus there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see
and
that.
the Pleiades, and the Pleiades as well.
but I didn't get your beautiful blue that you got.
It's called color balance, Reg.
Well, I'm really impressed, and I
Imbalance
realize-
color will be fine.
That reflection on the water is gorgeous, Venus. My goodness.
Yeah.
That is really stunning.
At any rate, clearly I don't have the right stuff. And I'm going to stop share there. Sorry about that.
Reg, that's a beautiful picture.
It is.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Lovely.
I like the red light of that we can pretend that was Mars coming out of the water there too.
Yeah.
Or we could think of what is a Great Gatsby. Oh no, that was a green light. Sorry.
Green light on the end of Daisy's dock.
That's right. Sorry, that wasn't a red light. Okay. Anyway. All right.
So is everybody ready for Mars? It's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful yesterday. Last night, 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh, Mars was fabulous.
Yeah.
Nobody's sleep.
Yeah, well,
Don't have to get up to go to work, so what the heck?
yeah.
I had an early cheat. All right, thanks everybody.
Okay, guys, yeah.
Good night.
Everybody.
Stay safe and all that, and we'll see you next week.
Go have a look at Jupiter.